Running a nonprofit can present a unique set of challenges, and Arizona State University Center is working to sharpen the skills of philanthropic organization leaders through research, education, and outreach activities. Here to talk about the ASU Lodestar Center for Philanthropy and Nonprofit Innovation is its executive director, Dr. Robert Ashcraft. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
What is the Lodestar Center?
Well, in a nutshell, we'll start with our mission, and that is to build the capacity of the social sector for those who lead, manage, and support nonprofits. From there, it's a wide-ranging, broad portfolio of activities, but that is our core mission.
It sounds like it's nonprofit assistance. It's basically information on the basics of running a nonprofit.
Well, that's part of what we do. We also engage in conversations and research around the role of nonprofits as a vibrant part of the economy, as a part of building civil society, the study of philanthropy, the giving of time, money, and know-how to causes people care about. So while the bullseye clearly is the nonprofit form, how they're led, managed, are they effective, are they efficient, there's really a broader construct here around the quality of life in communities.
If I'm thinking of starting a nonprofit, or if I have started one and I'm running into some difficulties, do I come to you, A, and B, if I do, what do I get?
Well, so yes, however, we wish you had come to us prior to starting the nonprofit. And I say that because we actually have training programs and all kinds of research around the issue of nonprofit forms. And often what people learn in the process is the last thing they should do is start a nonprofit. Rather, what they should do is think about the idea that they have, do an environmental scan to figure out, are there other resources in the community? Are there other organizations? Are there other people that actually address those issues and become a part of that? Now, the answer sometimes then is we need to start a nonprofit because there's a gap in the community and so on. But from there, once the nonprofit is started, if there are issues, and there always are, then our center is a resource around the range of competencies, knowledge, and tools that are needed for effective enterprise work.
Common questions, common concerns that you hear from those running nonprofits?
Right. So here's the number one, because we have frequently asked questions and we have a way in which people tell us what their issues are. The current trend has been board governance. Issues of boards, issues of leadership that seem to be, because boards are destiny for nonprofits, seem to be the number one kind of question we have. So we've launched an entire array of board governance training. And where I'm going with this is not just the professional, the practitioner, the paid salaried staff member. There's also the volunteers, the leadership, the boards, and we've learned you can't separate the two. They both have to be in the mix of capacity building.
Interesting. Board governance, is it a question of trying to figure out who is what, who does what, who leads, who follows, the whole 9 yards?
Well, and is the board doing its job? And some that join nonprofit boards have either not been oriented or fail to realize the serious responsibilities they have, the legal, fiduciary, and other responsibilities of good board stewardship, good boardsmanship. So this is something that in the beginning of our center we were not as involved with, but we are very responsive to the marketplace as we think about nonprofit capacity building, and we've moved heavily into board governance training.
That's interesting. And you mentioned training now. You're not only training, but there are courses, there's instruction, there are certificates, those things as well?
Right. Within our center, we also have the Nonprofit Management Institute, which has been a longstanding institute inside our center, founded by the community. It was a project of Valley of the Sun United Way and Arizona State University, when as United Way looked across the community and the organizations they fund, there were issues of capacity and technical assistance and knowledge and tools, and really turned to the university to say, what could you do? So through that apparatus, we train well over 1,000 practitioners and leaders a year in the core competencies of running a nonprofit. We also have our academic programs, degree programs for students and so on that the center helps facilitate.
You also, as you mentioned before, have research programs.
That's right.
Talk about the programs, talk about what you research.
Right. There are 2 or 3 core commission research projects that we do routinely. One is giving and volunteering. That is to say, how do we understand the concept of giving of time, money, and know-how across Arizona? So we've been a go-to place for that, because that's currency both in time and money that fuels the nonprofit sector. It's very unique that way. We have a compensation study that we do that is increasingly popular, particularly with IRS scrutiny of nonprofits, issues of executive compensation. So we provide that as a tools source as well. And then the third is the scope, what we call scope of the sector. monitoring and looking at the size, scope, scale, much of it descriptive, others of it deeper in certain subsectors around education, the environment, health, and so on, to try to understand what is this social sector, what is the nonprofit sector.
Can you get tangible results from this, though? How do you quantify what you're doing and the results you are seeking?
Right. Well, so it's the same question we would ask of the very nonprofits that we serve,
Indeed.
right? That it's not just about being in business. What difference do you make? What is the impact? Our center itself has quite a sophisticated evaluation plan, which is to say, if this is our mission, how do we meet our mission? And I feel very good that we practice what we teach in that way. For the nonprofits themselves, the move is very much to impact. We've gotten away from, we know what inputs are to create the nonprofit, the fuel of the volunteers, the staff, the money, and programs. What's the output? Number of kids served, number of meals, whatever. But that's insufficient to measure true impact. So the move is, yes, input, output to actual impact. And it's actually changing how nonprofit leaders and managers have to think and act.
And I would imagine the quantification is actually evolving and changing as well.
Indeed, right. As methodologies evolve,
Sure.
as the environment in which nonprofits find themselves evolve, to be sure.
The last question, talk if you would about the challenges in these tough economic times that nonprofits are facing. I mean, it's one thing, you're talking about just surviving and self-examination.
Right.
They're dealing with also the real world out there.
No question about it. And I know you've had other guests from the nonprofit sector on Horizon who have spoken about 4 or 5 very tough years in the economy. At the same time that particularly nonprofits who serve the most vulnerable, their service demands have gone up at a time when resource constraints and government funding and other things have shrunk. Here's where the needle seems to be moving, and it's in this language of collective impact, which is to say that the individual is important. The individual leader, manager, the supporter is important. So too is the individual nonprofit to be led effectively and well managed and be efficient. But even more important is a collective impact, the way in which we can work together collaboratively around social issues, and that's where the opportunities are.
All right, very good. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.